On today's episode of Locked On Wild, some reasons for pessimism, including the lack of roster turnover.
Hey, this is Matt Boldy, and you're listening to Locked On Wild.
Hey, this is Marcus Foligno, and you're listening to Locked On Wild.
You're Locked On Wild, your daily podcast on the Minnesota Wild. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Locked On Wild, your daily Minnesota Wild podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team each and every day, and we thank you for making Locked On Wild your first listen each and every day as well. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast platforms so you don't miss out on any new episodes throughout the week. Today's episode of Locked On Wild is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. On today's episode of Locked On Wild, Alex Micheletti joins us as we take a look at some reasons for pessimism for the Minnesota Wild this season. We'll talk about the potential for injuries, special teams, and we'll look at what has been a mostly unchanged roster over the last several seasons. My name is Seth Toupal, host of Locked On Wilds, host of Seth on Sports, and credentialed media member for the 2025-2026 season, joined by Alex Micheletti for a little Locked On Wild After Dark. And Alex, we had earlier reasons for optimism for this Minnesota Wild team, and I said we'll flip the coin to the other side, reasons for pessimism. And I want to start with one that we really haven't talked about yet this year. And I did see it mentioned in one of Michael Russo's articles. So if you want a good reason for pessimism, the search for the perfect penalty kill continues. Russo said that John Hines and the coaching staff spent a good majority of the offseason looking into the special teams issues and how to fix them. It is the year 2025. The penalty kill for this team has not been good for now 4 years. It's been masked by a couple of different things. And the search continues here in the search continues in 2025. And as we've seen, that is something that's capable of wrecking a season.
100%. And that's been like the killer for them in the playoffs, is especially the penalty kill and the inability to win a draw. It's the teams, the opposing teams always they know that's the way that they can overcome. Because on 5-on-5, the Wild are usually pretty dang good. It's when they go down 5-4 or 5-3, nightmares come out.
And it is morphed into so many different things over the years. Like in one season, goalie can't make any saves. The next year, the goalie makes the saves, but the play in front of the goalie's bad. Can't win a face-off. Can't clear the puck. Bad personnel. The regular personnel that are supposed to be on the penalty kill are injured. The guys you have that are filling in can't do it. We've gone through everything. And at the end of the season last year, we finally got we'll let Matt Boldy play the penalty kill. And I will give credit that did seem to help some, but it's not like you had one season where the play fell off consistently. These issues have been happening for several seasons. It's just that either you score enough 5-on-5 goals to offset it. You have a Vezina caliber goalie that just makes all the saves, so the peripheral numbers look good. And it's going in the wrong direction. Like, it is trending in the wrong direction over the last couple of years too.
And we got the news that Nico Sturm, they won't play him in a game here until he can make it through a couple hours of practicing, and he was the guy they signed to be a main penalty killer. You can't make that up, and you hope he can get back here soon, because he's turned into a pretty useful player. Some guys in the league, they figure out ways to stay in the league for you're like, how did this guy stay in the league for 10 years? It seems like Nico's well on his way, because he's found a role on fourth lines wherever he's been, and the hope is he can get healthy and be a mainstay on that penalty kill.
They will definitely need him if they're going to improve that unit. But then again, whichever coaching staff, whichever assistant coach, whichever head coach, whichever coach figures out these penalty kill woes for the Minnesota Wild is going to win the Nobel Prize. Like, it is going to be that big of an achievement to finally get it fixed. And let's
see what wizardry Capiano has this year. One of the most interesting guys in the game of hockey, that's for sure.
Well, I think that may be his primary charge. I know he does a lot with the defense. The coaching duties are kind of divvied up in a few different ways. So some do one thing, others do another. It's everybody's game. That's just one side of the coin. You got the power play as well, which I kind of took a look at earlier this week, and it was a power play that finished with a 20.9% was their success rate. It felt like a bad power play for most of the season. Like they were really, really good to start the year. They went Siberian desert cold for the middle months of the season. They kind of came back at the end. I'm begging for just an even ride through, not insanely hot for 6 weeks, ice cold, like 1 for 40.
Remember at one point they had Vinny Hinostroza on the power play? It was, oh my goodness.
Yeah, that was...
and he might have to make the team.
Yeah, it sounds like he's angling for it. I just talked earlier today about, like, what is that fourth line going to look like, and I really can't picture it. Like this may be too the time that Hunter Haight gets a call up based off of how his play has gone, but we'll have to find out. Time will tell.
That's at least one of the young guys is trying to take advantage. So good for Hunter.
So you've got the penalty kill that can't stop scoring, and you've got the power play that just plays perimeter pinball for the entirety of their possession. And I know it's easy for me to armchair GM, sitting either up in the press box or on my couch watching, but I get trying to find the perfect shot, but at some point the window for the perfect shot closes, and if you don't take the shot, then there's no opportunity, and then the next thing you know, the puck is down to the other end of the ice. It just seems to me like a volume approach would be the way to go. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but it feels like quantity over quality is the way to go on the power play.
Throw it on that. I mean, look at Ek is that's his game, is the right park out right out front and go to work. He scores the majority of his goals right out front. So just get it on net, let him get tip ins and get underneath the skin of the penalty killers. And Zeev's got a heck of a shot back there, and I know he's trying to get back to 100% and ready to go, because that's going to be one of his main duties, and he has to deliver as the quarterback.
Yeah, and I was just looking to see if I could. Of course not. I was going to see if I could find like because sometimes they'll do like your team averages this many shots per power play, but that number is not readily available. And the other thing too, like for a couple of seasons at least, we were talking about, well, the Wild take way too many penalties. So you gotta limit the penalties if you're going to get the penalty kill to be good. Well, the Wild did that last year, and the penalty kill is still bad. So it's personnel, it's scheme, it's both, it's none. Figure it out is all I'm saying.
And the Central Division has lethal power plays all over it. Even you give Chicago, Chicago is kind of a mess, but I mean, you let Connor Bedard get some open ice, and he looked great against the Wild the other night. And I saw Frank Nazar had a hat trick against the Wild. So I mean, they have some really good young talent. So I mean, every team in the Central is just stocked with their power plays.
Some are more efficient than others, but
right.
Special teams could certainly derail this season, as it has happened over the last couple of years, but that is just the tip of the iceberg, because there's one big thing that I really haven't discussed this year at all. But if we're being completely pessimistic on the roster this year, this is basically the same roster as it was 2 to 3 years ago. So we'll talk about that as we continue today's episode of Locked On Wilds after this. Today's episode of Locked On Wild is brought to you by Monarch Money. Most people can't name all of their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you've put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all of your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNHL. Welcome back to today's episode of Locked On Wild. Once again, we thank you for making Locked On Wild your first listen each and every day. We're getting close, very close, to 3,600 subscribers on YouTube. So if you have not already, make sure to hit the subscribe button on YouTube and go tell a friend. Grab a friend, get them on the show, get them on the YouTube channel. We will be keeping you up to date with everything leading up to the start of the season. And we've got some fun things in store for you this year as well. Going with a couple of different ways to cover the season this year that we haven't done in years past. So it should be a lot of fun, as it always is. So make sure to subscribe on YouTube and to tell your friends. And if you feel so inclined in your favorite audio platforms, either Apple or Spotify, leave us a 5-star review. If you do, we'll read it on the show and give you a big thank you. Alex, I'm not going to lie. There's one thing about this team that I really haven't discussed, not because I was afraid of it, but because I was saving it for a moment like this. This is basically the same roster that the Wild have been fielding for the last 3 years. And that's another reason for some pessimism, because the same. You could have put me in a cryo chamber after the end of the 2022-2023 season and woken me up right now and said, can you guess what's going on with the Wild? And I would have said, special teams is bad. Second line needs a wing. One line team. And they would have been like, you are a psychic. Please share your gift. And I would have said, here's how. It is a roster that is built on a formula that worked in the 2021-2022 season and it has been held up by various things over the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, another big injury right at the beginning of the season with Matt Zuccarello being out, quote unquote, for a while. As we know with the with the Wild and injury talk, when we hear it from the coaching staff or Bill Guerin, a day-to-day could turn into a month to month. And so Marcus Johansson is just sitting there saying, oh, I'll take that second line wing spot. And it's just like, he can't make it up. Anytime there's an injury, he seems to finagle his way into a scoring line.
And, it's funny too, because I have even said this, but I have just I went and I looked today. The Wild have to be one of the most injured teams in the NHL. They have to be the leader as far as man games lost.
And
no.
In Zuccarello and Brodin, it wasn't on the ice. It was off ice injuries, which is just crazy that they're getting hurt training.
Yeah, it is concerning the amount of times that this happens, but if you want to look at a few different breakdowns as far as who has lost the most. So 2023-2024, the Vegas Golden Knights lost considerably more games compared to everybody else. If you just look at if you go down to the end of, I'm on a website called NHL Injury Viz. It's a blog. Their injury report is 6 pages long. The Minnesota Wild, as far as lost wins above replacement versus the points that they scored, the Minnesota Wild lost 4.55 wins above replacement, or roughly 1.07 points per game due to injury. Vegas lost 12.25 WAR in 2023-2024. So
thank you, Mark Stone.
over double. The Colorado Avalanche lost 7.68 WAR in 2023-2024. The Avalanche, the Golden Knights, the Maple Leafs, the Kings, and the Hurricanes are in the quadrant labeled injured but good. The Minnesota Wild are in the injured and bad. Now, that was 2 seasons ago. How did they handle 2024-2025? Well, again, I'll tell you, they're not in the top 5 as far as man games lost are concerned. The top 5 teams, the San Jose Sharks, who lost 338 games due to injuries. The Toronto Maple Leafs, who lost 331. The Colorado Avalanche, who lost 312. The Columbus Blue Jackets, who lost 309. The Minnesota Wild lost 220 games due to injury, which ranks them 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12th in the league. So they're top half, but they're nowhere near the top. The problem is the depth. The problem is the depth that is filling these spots. In the last couple of seasons, it has 40 games at Devon Shore is 40 too many.
in Kahari or Travis Boyd or any. I mean, and the young guys were just completely not ready for even pro hockey at Iowa, and it didn't help that probably the wrong coaching staff there, and that's why they went out and got Greg Cronin to hopefully change the culture down there, and poor Jesper was he was doomed from the start when they said, hey, get an apartment in Minneapolis, and then he was stuck in Des Moines all year.
Yeah, it's like it was just the moment the injuries started to pile up in December, and you could tell it was going to be a weird season, because when they announced that Kirill was banged up after the Christmas break, I'm like, or after Thanksgiving, I was like, what does banged up mean?
Right. Like, and things were day to day, but then they turned into week to week, and you didn't know exactly what it was. They wouldn't say, and then you got guys blocking shots and breaking, Middleton getting hurt. It was just, and then Spurgeon. I mean, every like key player was getting just destroyed by injury.
So that's another reason for pessimism, is that it's the same roster made up of veterans who don't have great injury histories that could certainly rear their ugly
leadership
head. Yeah. And the big one that I want to finish the show talking about is the big gamble that was taken this offseason, because it kind of underscores what could be another problem with a veteran-laden team: regression. We'll talk about that as we finish today's episode of Locked On Wilds after this. Today's episode of Locked On Wild is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Speaking of across the app, the Minnesota Vikings across the pond taking on the Cleveland Browns this weekend. Myles Garrett, the human wrecking ball, will be going toe-to-toe against a very banged-up Minnesota Vikings offensive line, and yet the Vikings are 3.5-point favorites, at least right now. If you are so inclined to go with a game wager, that's a good spot to start. You can also place on the Minnesota Vikings to win the NFC North. They're currently plus 1,000 to do that. Or you can go a little further down the line and go with the Super Bowl, which they are plus 5,500 to win the Super Bowl. Either way, FanDuel has you covered. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Final segment of today's episode of Locked On Wild. Once again, we thank you for making Locked On Wild your first listen each and every day. Again, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any new episodes or any new guests throughout the week. If you missed our chat with Marcus Foligno last week, you can find that on our YouTube channel, and great to catch up with Moose. We'll try to do that again as the season unfolds. Alex, the big one that I'm concerned about this year, as far as a pessimistic, I like having two completely independent sides of my brain, because I just shut off the happy-go-lucky side of my brain, the optimistic side, and I said, all right, team pessimism, it's your turn. You look at this roster, and while I do think it's fair to bet on a better season from Kirill, because he's probably going to play more games, Joel Eriksson X probably going to play more games, and a nice, kind of continued step in the right direction for Matt Boldy and Marco Rossi, none of that is unreasonable. those are all pretty safe bets to make for this upcoming season. But Vladimir Tarasenko was a big risk. It was a big risk. I mean, I know it didn't cost you anything other than salary cap space, but he's coming off the worst season he's had as a pro. He's coming off the fewest shots on goal he's ever had in a season. He was the most inaccurate that he has ever been in a season as far as shots on goal go. It's either a one-off or you just hopped in a car with no brakes on its way down the hill.
And we saw when he was, basically on the third line in Detroit, he was just kind of mopey about it and was not motivated at all. And, if he's not scoring, which that's his calling card in the league, right? And is he going to want to play a two-way game? That's issue. Or, if Hines demotes him to a checking line, how's that gonna go over? Yeah, that's tough. And with some of these guys, when their skills start to drop off, they can really start to tank. And how's that gonna fit in the locker room too?
Yeah, we'll find out very quickly. But not only that, I mean, you've got guys. Marcus Foligno came into the season healthy, and he hasn't taken any bumps or bruises going into the season. But like these guys that are on the other side of 30 or right at 30, like you're hoping that they perform. You're hoping that they're able to keep the level of production they've had over the last few years, but it's not a certainty. Like, it's not a guarantee that you just pencil these guys in for the same sorts of production that they've had the previous seasons. And I got to say, like, I'm not thrilled about the fact that we seem to be seeing Marcus Johansson just penciled in as the second line wing, opposite Vladimir Tarasenko, and with Joel Eriksson as the center. I don't think it's like banging your head on the wall and hoping that this time it's not going to give you a headache. It just doesn't seem to be smart here.
He's like an anchor. He affects the rest of that line too. And Ek is so important to the team, and he needs some wingers that will consistently score, because he's going to be doing all the work, and you can't have an anchor like that on his line.
No, but because of how critical the situation has become, the ship is taking on water, and you're going down with whatever you can find, and you better hope you grab a life raft instead of a deck chair.
And we're hearing reports now that Liam Ogren's kind of plateauing now at in the preseason training, and you're off is kind of the same thing. Start off looking pretty good, but now is kind of just plateauing. So, yeah, I mean, you're banking on some of these young guys actually taking advantage of their opportunities, especially with Zuccarello out. And from when we heard the words "out a while," who knows how long that's actually going to be.
Yeah, because if it's, and we don't have anything to go off of here, but right, you just run through the list of things that it could potentially be. Back, knee,
at that ankle, age too.
Hard to come back from that.
Significant groin injury.
Yeah, that wouldn't be the first time that's happened. So I can't wait for full seasons of Marcus Johansson, Brett Leeson, and Vinny Hinostroza.
Just Nikolai Abu-Kobel or whatever. Yeah, just
I missed this portion of my head that just gets so just shut off by this kind of stuff happening. Like
random tweeners of guys that have been in the league forever, and you mentioned Devin Shore. It's just guys that you can sit around a campfire and just randomly name off former third line, fourth line, just grinders.
We'll always have the Victor Rask seasons.
Yes, Kyle Rao.
And, so this is like the beautiful part about this is the way that I laid out the two, like, choose your own adventure here. The optimistic side or the pessimistic side is the players have a large say in how this goes. But a lot of it is stuff that can't really be controlled, like going to block a shot and breaking a hand, or friendly firing your own teammate and taking away his ability to have children. Almost. That kind of stuff, like, you can't control. And it feels like sometimes, most of the time, a lot of the time, it feels like the Wild operate as if they have absolute certainty that this is how things are going to play out. And in the world of sports, in the world of anything, you can't have absolute certainty. Like, you have to have contingency plans in place for how different things play out. So I don't know.
They've struggled with that. They have completely struggled with that.
They have failed mightily in that regard. So whichever side of the coin you're on, optimist or pessimist, the season is almost here and we get to enjoy it together. So that is our episode here for today. We got one more coming at you here. It's a triple Monday, triple Tuesday, I guess. We got one more episode coming at you with just some injury updates. So be on the lookout for that as well. But that'll wrap it for today. Make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any new episodes throughout the week. We got you covered with new episodes every Monday through Friday as part of the Locked On Podcast Network.